Hi everyone, welcome back to the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel. My name is Marla and I'm with Matt about cards and crafts. Today we are going to be creating 4 A2 size cards using a stencil and stamp from Honeybee Stamps as well as some Nuvo shimmer spray. I want to jump into the products that we're using. This stamp set is called Honey Bunnies. It's from the recent release. There are 4 different images that include bunnies, some lovely sentiments, and some hearts. I will be using all of the bunnies in my project today. This stencil is called Whimsical Heart Stencil. I'm using from Pink Fresh Studio the basic label frames. I'm going to be using the largest hexagon. From Fawn, I'm using the 6x6 Watercolor Wishes, that purple in the bottom right hand corner. 2 Distress Oxide inks, I'm using Shaded Lilac as well as Victorian Velvet. This lovely sparkle spray from Nuvo is the blush burst is the pink and the lavender lining is the purple. I have stamped my images onto Copic Express It paper using Gina K Designs Jet Black Amalgam ink, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of Copic coloring. I started with my darkest shade, which is RV95. I'm adding that all around the perimeter of the heart. I do blend that out with an RV93. I leave that white space to fill in with the RV91. I like to go over my images twice. I really like that depth of color. So I'm going to do the same thing all over again, and then we're going to start on our little bunny. So my shadowing is going to be W3. And it's going to be in where the leg is curving. I'm going to put a little mark where the foot is right here and accentuate that little foot on the back side of the bunny. Underneath the heart and the arms, underneath the chest is going to be very dark because it's covered by the chin as well as the heart. I do blend that out with that W1, and then I will come in with the W0. I will draw out those lines just a little bit more. This is basically just laying down, mapping out where I want my shadows to be. So you can see that I'm using that W3 again, and I'm going to draw that out. So you see the bunnies on the left. There's 2 bunnies there. I'm going to color one of them the exact same color, but the second one I wanted a little bit of variation because the 2 bunnies aren't going to be exactly alike. So for one of the bunnies, I'm going to add the W5. So I'll use W5 as my darkest color, then I'll bring in the W3, and finally I'll blend it out with the W1. So when I show you my finished card, you'll be able to see that one of the bunnies is a little bit darker, and all I did was drop the W0 and add the W5. For the inside of the ears, I am going to use that same RV91, and I'm going to color the inside of the ears as well as adding a little bit of cheeks. This is going to be a girl bunny, and I think she is absolutely adorable. I think this is my favorite image in this stamp set. For the wings, I'm going to be using some BV markers. So I'm going to be using BV4 as my darkest color, BV2 as my midtone, and BV00 as my light. I'm going to draw in my shadowing with that darkest color, and then I'm going to be using a flicking motion. So you can see I'm using the tip of my Copic marker. I blend that out with the midtone, which is the BV02, and then I'll add the BV0. I'm not going all the way to the end of the wings. I do leave a lot of white space. I like a lot of contrast, so I am going to bring in that darkest BV4, and I'm going to just add a little bit more of the shadowing, and I don't add any of the other colors. For the eyes and the nose, I add a little bit of a black glaze pen. I add some freckles to those cheeks, some accents to the heart and to the bunny. And then I'm going to come in with a micron pen and add some eyelashes. All of the products that are available in the ScrapbookPal store will be listed in the description box below. Here's a piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock. I'm using those sprays. This first one is the lavender lining. As you can see, I'm shaking them back and forth and not up and down. It does have, what's it called? It's got some glitter on the inside of this that needs to be shaked up each time that you use these. Mica powder, that's what I was trying to think of. So I shake them back and forth, and you saw that I added the first colors and then I dried it in between and added a little bit more. Here I am using the ink that is on the top of that stencil, and I'm going to get a second card panel. So there are both of the card panels that I created just from that one spray, and I think that that's a great way to stretch your sprays. Don't forget to use what's on the top of that stencil onto another card panel. I simply sprayed the color on. Look at all that shimmery goodness onto this same one. I have heat embossed this. This was Nina 110-pound cardstock. I use heavier cardstock when I do some dry embossing. And the reason that I dry emboss first is because when I'm adding these colors, which this is the shaded lilac, when I add these colors, it's going to draw some of the darker ink around the raised edges, and it's really going to accentuate that dry embossing. So when I finish here, you're really going to be able to see those hearts. Here I'm adding the Victorian velvet, and then in the very center, I'm going to blend the two of them together, and you'll be able to see a very clear variation in all three of the colors, and you'll be able to see that beautiful heart embossing. That's one of the nice things about stencils. You don't just need to use, you just don't have to use them, to put ink through. You can actually emboss with them. I'm going to add a little bit more to this card panel. I wanted to add some more of that spray and get a little bit more of that glimmery, shimmery goodness. So I started with the lavender lining, and I used the spray nozzle just to tap that on. I'm doing the same thing here with the blush burst. Then I'm going to use a paintbrush. I'm going to add it directly to the bottle. I'm just going to dip that paintbrush in the bottle, and I'm going to go around the edges of this to add a little bit more shimmer, just a slight, very small edge to this card panel. And that is going to be my third panel. Aren't these sprays fun? There's so many things that you can do with them. You can paint with them, you can spray them, you can splatter them. If you like sparkle, I think that these are just wonderful. I'm going to show you a close-up of the panel. There you go. You can see all that shimmer and shine in the hearts. All right, so now we're going to start building some cards. Here's a circle from my stash. I take it over to my die cutting machine and I do cut it out. I start cutting my card panel down and I realize that I want it to be even smaller. So this lavender piece of cardstock is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to cut this card panel down to 3 3/4 by 5 so that I have that little edge to it. Here's how I dry emboss. I take my 2 pads and then I have an embossing pad which is probably about maybe 1/4 inch thick, and I run that through my die cutting machine, and that allows me to get that embossing with that stencil. I'm using some art glitter glue to glue that pattern paper down. This is a piece of fun foam. Now I'm going to take a larger circle and then the same circle that I cut that one circle out of, and I'm going to create a ring to go around the edge. I thought that it was just missing a little bit of something, so I'm going to add this ring, and I'm going to paint it again with that blush burst. And when I show the close-up of the card, look behind the circle and you can see how much that little bit of dry embossing added to the compilation of this card. I love all the little details that you can add, and it really doesn't take that much time. I glued that down, as I said, around the circle, and I'm cutting off the excess. Now I'm going to add my 2 bunnies. I decided not to add a sentiment to this, and the reason why was because I thought I could use this for so many different occasions. I could use it as an I care, I can use it as an anniversary card, it could be a Valentine. I wanted to leave it open as to what I wanted to use this card for. So there's a quick look at card number 1. Here I'm taking the stencil again. I'm going to be using some Gina K Design Iridescent Glitz Glitter Gel. The Iridescent is not available right now in the ScrapbookPal store. That being said, I think that the lovely Lavender, or the bubble gum glitz, sorry about that, would work really well with these Nuvo colors. This is going to add even more sparkle and shine, and I love the way that this turns out. So you're going to still be able to see the color underneath, but you're going to get the texture and you're going to get a little bit more bling with this. I did cut it on the diagonal. Here's that panel. So I have a gray card base that's cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I did cut the bigger embossed piece down to 4 by 5 1/4. And now I'm adding that watercolor paper. I did cut it widthwise to 4 1/4 so that it's going to line up beautifully. So that finished card panel right there is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. I used the lavender to paint that strip. That strip is about a 1/2 inch wide, I would say. And then the silver paper is from my stash, and that's cut to about 3/4 inches. I'm going to lay it down on the diagonal and I'll trim off the extra. And then I'm going to come in with another piece of the glitter paper, and it's going to be cut to about 1/4 inch wide. And I'm going to take the lower portion of that glitz glitter panel, and I'm going to lay it onto that card panel on the right. As you can see, I did color the hexagon. As I said, I used the largest hexagon, and I colored that using the blush burst. Here I'm adding that little strip just to cover my seam. I like the way that that looks. When you are gluing over the Glitz glitter gel, you need to make sure that you use a wet adhesive. If you try to use a tape runner, it just doesn't stick very well to that Glitz glitter gel, so make sure that you use a liquid gel for that. And here's a look at my finished card. I did heat emboss my sentiment. It says "Some Bunny," and then on the inside I'm going to use the words "loves you." For this one, I popped up that hexagon and put my bunny on it, and then I white heat embossed the word "hello." And now we're on to our final card. Here are the other images I told you about. I stamped them out the same way and colored them the same way. I have taken a little piece of cardstock and used that blush burst so that I have a little bit of border around my sentiment. My card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The second layer is 4 by 5 1/4, and the heart layer is 3 3/4 by 5. I added some foam adhesive to the back of the bunnies as well as the hearts. And I'm going to place these around the bunnies, and that is going to be my final card for today. I will show you a final look of all 4 of the cards. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to ScrapbookPal. Make sure you check out the store. It is a one-stop shopping mega fun store to shop in. I want to thank you again for watching. Have a fantastic day.